This is the 4th video of the Haunted Barista series, but feel free to start here. To view this series playlist, click the card above or the link in the description. Thank you for listening. I'm a barista at a cafe that serves the odd and supernatural. The giant is offering alternative milk. I work at the Drowsy Spectre, a cafe positioned in a place sure to never get any business. No human business, that is. Keith stopped screaming, and that doesn't comfort me. Some terrifying stuff has happened lately, but usually it's just weird. There's a lot to tell you, but I think the focus of this post should be on the rapidly worsening state of the Drowsy Spectre. However, I think it's important to let you know that Laura came back. Not the gecko, but actually Laura. It was good to see that she was alive and okay. Well, not really alive. Let me explain. Back when Keith went missing, I hadn't noticed that Em was absent from the entire event due to finding Laura's ghost. We want to put her back in the gecko since being alive is better than being not. She begged us. I suggested we see if her body could be found. But Em said the gecko is her body, so that won't be possible. I'll go over all of that in detail later. I found my laptop again, and I feel like Keith's fate is more important at the moment. I feel it is my responsibility to speak about what happened, to tell you what is left of his story. The screaming stopped 2 days after he was stolen. 2 days of screaming. I could hear it weaken. Practically felt his spirit gave out from somewhere deep in the woods. There was also the matter of the eyeless woman that spoke to me that night, which I had not mentioned to anyone at the cafe. Celine was far more closed off than usual, quiet ever since the night Riker appeared at the team meeting. I see her when we open, then when we close. That is it. So, on my Sunday shift, I decided to ask her about the situation with the eyeless. You see, her office light turned off. Usually, it is Barrow that fixes it, seeing as he works every shift. Barrow was taking an order, and turning back on a light was a simple task, so I hurried to do it. It gave me the opportunity to speak with Celine. I turned back on her office light and knocked on the door. "Hey, you got a second?" "Sure." She seemed surprised. "Can I come in?" "1 sec." There was chaos behind the door for a moment, all sorts of things being moved, and then it stopped. "You're good." I opened the office door and saw the desperate attempt she had made at straightening up the messy space. Papers of all kind piled on a long counter. Mismatched pens and markers were stuffed into a mesh container, and 2 boxes of random knickknacks made a spot for her to put her feet. Instead of a trash can, it seemed she'd been using a large McDonald's paper bag. Look, I'm not judging, but it really did seem like she was living in the office. "What's up?" She put on her best, but forced smile. Should I have asked how she was doing? I don't know. Closed-off people tend to stay that way regardless of prying. I did not want to spit on her willingness to speak with me, so I avoided the possibility of upsetting her. "Do we have an eyeless customer that comes through the drive-thru?" "All sorts of weird things come here, you know that by now." "Yeah, but this one seemed really unique, like specific rules unique." "What did it look like?" Well, I already told her it had no eyes. Aside from that, I couldn't really remember. "It was a woman, I think, or looked like one. She was driving a car, said some stuff, and then the car fell apart as if it was made of string. She floated away. Oh, and all the lights turned off, and I couldn't find anyone in the store." "What did it say to you?" Celine didn't seem urgently interested, but she was listening. "To write that I have done the impossible, that I will write and lose all things." I think she was referring to the fact that I made a frozen cappuccino, which is what she ordered. Barrow said just to make a vanilla frappe. She laughed. "That was a good sign, right?" "That's what you get. I told Barrow not to do stuff like that, because then they think it is a real drink." "I'll keep that in mind." She said, "Burn thy candle," and said something about a king of pillars. Celine's smile was cut short. What? Burn thy candle? I repeated. Does it mean something? No, the other thing. She said something about the Pillar King? Yeah, she said a world was in the Pillar King's hands. When she swallowed deeply, I began to get nervous. Celine, that means something to you? What is it? If a cryptid had targeted me in some way, I needed to know. What is it? Did you see her again? Celine, what does it mean? Celine stood. Did you see her again? She shouted. I shook my head. No, I haven't. Calmed at the answer, she placed her hand on her forehead. Do not tell anyone else about this. If anyone says that to you again, come to me immediately. I do not care what time of day it is, or how casually it's mentioned. Tell me. But what does it mean? Is it something to do with Riker and DeGuire? Worse. Much worse. Like the devil or something? She raised her eyebrows. Come on, new guy. Open up your mind a little bit. So, no? Not at all. She rolled her eyes, but I saw her smile again. Things kind of picked up behind the counter, so I stood from the crappy metal chair. Should probably go help. Yeah, but thanks for coming. Was that thanks for visiting her, or thanks for telling her about the eyeless woman? No problem. I'll let you know if... Hey, Axel! Barrow called from the front. I shrugged to Celine and hurried up to the drive-thru. We have a magnet that detects if a car is at the window. And if there is one, it starts beeping like crazy. Like I said in the last update, that sound haunts my dreams more than any creature here. The rush died down just as suddenly as it arrived, and I was stuck inputting the tips from the customer's signed receipts. If I'm entirely honest, I had forgotten about Tall Ben for once. He was usually a staple presence at the Drowsy Spectre. But none of us had seen him since he took Keith. No face peering through the drive-thru window, no knocks on the back door to lure us outside. That doesn't mean any of us had our guard down, seeing as there were plenty of other things that could threaten our well-being. So, when Tall Ben's face appeared in the top left corner of the drive-thru window, I leapt away with a cry. That piece of shit was back. Barrow was getting a bag of espresso to fill our grinder's hopper, and Em was doing dishes. So there was no one up front to stop me from tearing Tall Ben a new one. Now, I realized that he was somehow in my head. I always see that afterward. Not in the moment, though. I swung open the window. What did you do to him? I growled, entirely incapable of intimidating the massive cryptid. Oh, Keith? Ben smiled and nodded. He was a cool guy when I got to know him. You know, at least he was cool enough to come hang out with me. Y'all never do that. Where is he? For Christ's sake, Axel, don't talk to him. Barrow sounded entirely disappointed. What is wrong with you? I turned around to see both him and Em there, eyes darting between Tall Ben and I. He took Keith. I'm a little shocked that I am the only one that seems to care. Well, Barrow can't... Em was cut off by Barrow's elbow jab. We care. Then let me find him. I turned back to Tall Ben. No need. I have him for you. He grinned excitedly. He's pretty good. Don't worry. Pretty good? What does that mean? I mean, he's good. We heard him screaming all night. Ben laughed, as if recalling a night of drinking with a friend. Oh yeah, Keith was wild. He kept pretending like he was some kind of secret agent, sneaking around the place, trying to stay out of sight. We got kind of bored of that game, so we played something else. He wanted to place some bets on it, though. That didn't explain the screaming. And? Well, I said I'd show him back to the shop if he won. Fair, right? If I won, though, then he would have to let me try something. That was both vague and terrifying. Good idea, right? Nice stakes, I think. All in good fun, though. It did not sound fun. What game? Barrow asked. Punchies. Yeah, I know, not super creative, but I don't have much at my place. Someone robbed me, you know. Took all my stuff. You played punchies? I didn't really know what that was. Ben explained. You don't know it? Basically, he gets to punch me. Then if I don't give up, I get to hit him. But a little harder. Keeps going until one person gives up. He kept it up for a long time. Gave my leg a bit of a bruise. You beat him to a pulp? Sounded disgusted. Who was she to talk, turning people into animal prisoners? That's why he was screaming. Yeah, that part got annoying. So anyway, he lost. It was a good try, though. I was afraid to ask, but it was my job. I left the window open. Where is Keith now? Like I said, I have him. He lifted a gallon jug of something pink with drifting drops of red within. He is good. I had no words. He's milk. I told you, I just needed some meat to make you guys the best milk you've ever tasted. Milk? What was I supposed to say? Yeah, milk. You know how it's made, right? They'd squeeze a cow, then the milk comes out. I gave Keith a good squeeze, and just like that, milk. Threw up. Barrow let out another sigh. And was his only reaction to anything. I was a bit faint, but shock kept me from moving. The thing that squished Keith to death was standing within arm's reach, so close that he could break my neck and make me into a Slurpee. I, like a deer, was stuck in place. Tall Ben held out the gallon jug, far too excited to offer us the gift of Keith's remains. Give it a try. I think it's a great alternative to cow's milk. No dairy, I think. Obviously, damn it. It was made of a person. I wouldn't even charge you that much, just at least give it a try. If you don't like it, I will drop the entire pitch. Honest. When I reached out to take it, I did not intend on trying the liquid. No, I meant to pour it down the drain, or maybe keep it, seeing as it was all that was left to give to his next of kin. I don't know, I wanted to make Ben mad, to hurt him, even if it was just his feelings. Barrow, however, stopped me. I had not noticed that I would have to reach out the window to take the jug, nor that tall Ben was ready to grab me with his other hand. Close, Ben smiled, but really, give it a try. He tossed the gallon into the store where it landed in Barrow's hands. It's good for you, trust me. Strong bones. Now, I think I have a new record speed. Check this out. Suddenly, he launched himself towards the trees, running at an incredible pace. Sure, it was easy for a giant, but it was eerie just how silently he dashed away. Barrow still held the jug. So, this is Keith. Yeah. I leapt again. Tall Ben was back at the window. And I'll keep my end of the deal, man. He was talking to me. Any question, I will find the answer. Catch you later, pal. Again, he ran to the trees as I closed the window. He thought I gave him Keith. This is my fault. Keith was the meat in our deal because I left the window open. God, what am I meant to do with that kind of guilt? What am I supposed to do with the jug of Keith that Ben just gave us? There is a terror from seeing something scary, from something chasing you, and something haunting you. But another horror is just how terribly breakable we all are. Ben had squeezed Keith's body apart, and the drowsy specter was squishing my spirit to mush. What's that? John asked, coming up to the front. He never did that. Barrow glanced at us. Keith? I know I shouldn't let guilt eat me, but it has thrown me into a funk. How am I supposed to write? Keith is dead because of me, was tortured because of me. Here, at my apartment, most of this was Wednesday, I can hear the whispering too. Can anyone write in those conditions? I came in for my shift today a bit earlier than normal. I needed to get away from the whispers, from everybody. Amber was there as if she knew I would be the first to arrive. With a warm smile, she leaned against her car and greeted me. Hey, Axel! How are you adjusting? She was dangerous. I needed to remember that. Well, I guess. Her character was entirely different than it had been the night at the meeting. Best you can. It's a strange place. Dangerous, too. She waved me over. Come here. I have something to show you. With time to spare and no intention of buying anything, I indulged her. What is it? I wanted to show you something. She opened her trunk and pulled out a box. I know this whole Keith thing is weighing down on you. I have something for that. I didn't tell her about Keith, nor did I tell anyone that I thought it was my fault. What if I said you could bring him back, body and all? That is possible? Sure. She opened the box and pulled out a candle. It had his name carved into the wax, a wick of what looked like hair ready to burn on top. You just have to burn this. I sell candles for this very reason, to help people. Will you let me help you? Sure, I owed it to Keith, but the rules were clear. I shouldn't. Because of the rule? Look, I just want to help people. That is the only reason I'm here. I will stay here too, and help whoever I can. Just let me show you. Celine pulled in at that moment, saving me from making a terrible mistake. Amber looked not upset, but sad. Just sad. Maybe another time. Think about it, Axel White. A tingle went up my spine as she turned away. What was that? I did not buy a candle, nor did I plan to. It is tempting, though. Do I owe Keith a second chance, no matter what fate I might face for breaking a rule? What if the rule was there to stop people from making a wish? What if Richard was hogging wishes for himself? I didn't know, nor do I think it is safe to ask. There is one thing I noted. Amber never said what the candles cost. Buying, that word always seemed to have weight on my ears when she said it, as if the price were severe. Yet she was so casual about it. Regardless of my guilt, Tall Ben owed me one answer. One question. He would find an answer. That is assuming that he sticks to his word. Now I have to sit here and think of what sort of question was worth both Keith's prolonged torture and eventual death. That does not seem fair at all to me. I'm a barista at a cafe that serves the odd and supernatural. Laura is alive. Sort of. I work at the Drowsy Spectre, a cafe positioned in a place sure to never get any business. No human business, that is. But there is more to my life than just my shifts at the Drowsy Spectre. As it turns out, Laura was back. Even worse, she blamed us for her new state of being. When we gave her that sip of coffee and then revived her, we accidentally made a regular gecko and turned what was left of her human soul into a wayward spirit, one stuck in the place where she had technically died. She blamed Em and I, me for giving her coffee, even though it was her idea, and Em for bringing her back. Seeing as she was in a far worse position, at least as a gecko she was alive, she could feel things. I've always wondered what it was like to be a ghost, but Laura was not so willing to discuss such things with me. I get it, but it is not like she had something better to do with her time. I did not tell Laura about Em, and how she, or her father, might be responsible for turning her into a gecko in the first place. I haven't fully forgiven Em. I don't know if I could ever trust her, but that didn't mean I was going to burn every bridge. There was still a chance with her. I had to believe that, since I was stuck working shifts at her side. Put me back, Laura demanded. Put me back. Back where? You want to be a gecko? She glared at Barrow, the glow of her form darkening. No, I also don't want to be dead. Is that possible? Maybe. Em did not make contact with me. Celine would know better than me. Yeah, I'm an asshole, but I had to bite. I would think you'd know more. Keith was just dragged away out the drive-thru window, and I was being told to forget about it. Don't blame me for snapping. She still did not turn her head. It was a shame, and her reaction made me feel guilty. I don't like to hurt people, even in the moments they deserve it. I'll ask her. Barrow fetched Celine. When she approached, she frowned. Who was watching the front counter? We turned around to see John near the espresso machine, patiently keeping an eye on things. You have Kitchen doing your job? It's fine. No one has ordered food in almost an hour. We need to know what to do. Can a spirit be put into an animal? Not easily. That is, unless the animal is also their body, and it is alive. Which is your exact situation, I guess. The person that turned you into a gecko actually made your body into a lizard, right? Like, you didn't see your own body fall asleep from the eyes of a gecko? Yeah, I turned into it. Then there might be something. I cannot guarantee we could turn the gecko back into a human, though. As long as I have a body, I will be happy. Anything, please. And so we agreed to try something next week. Of course, that was all last week. I was, and still am, broken up about what happened to Keith. Even that day, I berated everyone for focusing on Laura's situation, rather than Keith's. Barrow explained to me why, however, there was nothing to do about Keith. He was gone. Laura, however, was here, and we had options to help her. I guess that made sense, but forgetting Keith so quickly felt wrong. As we would find out, his screams would haunt us during the nights after. His fate was sealed, turned into blood milk by a confused giant. We brought the gecko to the cafe and placed it on top of a table made of white wood. It had black carvings on it, what seemed to be a language, one that I had never seen the likes of. There were shapes inlaid within themselves. A triangle crossed with a circle, or a square with two more squares. A star, one with 6 points stretching far. They were written around in a large triangle that was etched into the wood. What drew my attention, however, was the eye of gold in the center. It seemed real, yet I had no way to tell. The object seemed sentient, as if it were a camera that some primordial being were watching through. Celine laid the gecko on the table, free of any restraints. Since we have to keep spoiled meat for some of our more unique customers, we attract flies. The gecko noticed and locked eyes with a potential prey. We kept having to move the lizard back to its place, which was in the bottom right corner of the triangle. Celine placed Laura's visage at the bottom left, then Celine herself stood at the peak of the triangle. I asked later, and Celine would not reveal anything about the ritual, nor how it worked. I am doing this for you, you know, because you're a good person, and I don't want to see this place break you. That was sweet, I guess. I think the gesture was too late, though. In just 3 weeks, the drowsy specter had worn me down. Keith's situation saw to that. Still, the fact that Celine cares is touching. She is a good person too, I think. Of course, I hadn't known any of them for long, so how would I know? Da'al Elohim. At first, her words sounded like gibberish, but it was clearly a language of some kind. Valora Da'u Elohim Aru Daldeno. Celine said something like that. I tried to commit it to memory, but I might be wrong. I don't know what language that is, but if any of you know it, let me know. Laura began to shift. Her expression explained that the motion was not of her own doing. The drifting towards the center of the table was by a force they could not see. Aru Dodeno, Aru Dodeno, Celine repeated until Laura was at the center of the table, just above the golden eye. The black lettering began to burn. Black smoke rose from them, smoke so thick that it looked like tendrils reaching up. It rose towards Laura, touching her form. She began to scream. I could see her mouth open wide in pain, but no sound came out. The lights in the dining room got brighter and brighter. A customer walked in and promptly walked right back out, and the smoke began to replace the mist that was in Laura's apparition. It pulled her down towards the eye, and when I made a motion to stop it, Celine raised a hand quickly. A voice came from the table, but I knew it was from far beyond. Eru dodeno. The lizard jumped off the table, missing the fly that had landed next to it. That fly was in its spot, and when Laura's spirit was thrown down by the black smoke, she landed on the fly, and was therefore absorbed into the bug. Then, faster than I could see, the smoke vanished and the room was restored. It was as if nothing happened. But something did happen. That was confirmed when the fly spoke. This is not right. Everything is bigger than before. Yeah, Laura is a fly now. That shouldn't be possible, Celine remarked. The Eye of Gold only accepted because the body was yours. The fly accidentally fooled the ritual. That might come with consequences. Yeah, like being a fly? Laura's voice was so tiny, but it did not come from the fly. It was as if her spirit still manifested words that the insect could not form. I want to be a gecko, damn it. So yeah, that's where we are now. Somehow we have to get her out of the damn fly and do the whole thing again. Celine is worried that it won't work a second time. That thing she calls the Eye of Gold will not respond. That, by messing with the ritual, we may have angered it. I don't know what that means. Neither does she. But that is it. There's the matter of someone stealing my laptop then putting it back. Still figuring that issue out. But that is a story for a different post. When we reach the next step in getting Laura back into the gecko's body, I'll let you guys know. I'm a barista at a cafe that serves the odd and supernatural. I made a deal with the devil. I work at the Drowsy Spectre, a cafe positioned in a place sure to never get any business. No human business, that is. Yeah, the shop vanished. I'll get to that in a second. Laura is still a fly. If you didn't catch that update, we are trying to get that one sorted out. Oh, and I met a banshee a few days back, I think. In short, a lot of weird stuff happens. Yeah, I know we are super late, but I guess Celine was feeling festive because she asked me to come to the store early and help set up Christmas lights and all that. It wasn't really anything special, just some colored lights, and we finished pretty early. With a half hour to burn, we sat and talked next to her car. Nothing important, just about the weird stuff we both deal with at the Drowsy Spectre. She is a bit goofy, but I like it honestly. Having some normal weirdness in the face of deadly weirdness is refreshing. Amber kept glancing my way as she unloaded her car. I think it was jealousy. She wanted to talk to me, likely to convince me to buy some candles. On Monday, however, we came in and the lights were gone. Well, more than the lights. The Drowsy Spectre wasn't there. In its place was a larger building. One with a big sign that read Headsman's. When I pulled into the parking lot, I instantly noticed the change. I had gotten there about 5 minutes before opening, to find both Celine and Amber standing outside Headsman's, both staring up at the sign, with their hands in their hair. They didn't note my approach, nor did they say anything when I got out of my car. I approached, so I didn't really know what to ask. Shop's gone. That much was obvious. Amber pulled hard at her hair. Where am I going to sell candles? Out here? I offered. Celine noted my indifference. All our work is gone. All the lights. The 2 hours we slaved away out here are a complete waste. She was more upset about the lights than the entire store being gone. What do we do? Open on time. But that isn't a cafe. Celine dropped her arms. It isn't always. That didn't make any sense. Then again, nothing really did. So it changes sometimes? Yeah, very rarely. Is it always a I looked up, not sure what exactly it was at the time. Entertainment center? Redneck Chuck E. Cheese? Not always. It was a shoe store a long time ago. I didn't want to work at a shoe store or a Chuck E. Cheese. Does it change back, or is this permanent? No, it'll be back tomorrow. These things last one day, and we have no idea what causes it. Different rules, different customers, different products entirely, a complete curveball for everyone here. Em and Barrow pulled in at the same time, followed by John. We still haven't replaced Keith, and John's been taking his shifts. When Em exited her car, she kicked her tire really hard. I effing hate these places. As expected, Barrow didn't really react. Huh, that is worse than the shoe store. I was sort of curious about why a shoe store was a problem. It sounded a lot easier than food service. So, how do we figure out the new rules? Celine shrugged. Learn as you go. There might be a note in there from whoever worked last. What do you mean? We aren't the only place like this. The coffee shop is out there somewhere, being worked by another set of employees that are probably thanking us for our extensive rule set. A long time ago, before the Pixie and Hook, it was a radio station for a day. I did not like that. Do we still have to follow our rules? Yeah, assuming that the cryptid they reference is around. She gestured at Amber. Like her, no candles. Oh, come on, Celine. Just one. You know how this is going to hurt my business. Celine sneered at her and approached the door. All right, everyone, let's hunt down the rule book. If there isn't one, then we are screwed. Well, we are screwed anyway, because we don't have the staff for this business. We have to learn as we go. She turned the lock and opened the door. Don't die, please. I'm growing fond of y'all. When we stepped inside, we were hit with a stench. Bits of food were scattered all over the place. I think it was pepperoni I stepped on. Then a whole slice of pizza under a nearby bar stool. An entire basket of fries were scattered underneath a booth. The entire place was an absolute mess. Sure not to pass any inspection that might come its way. Carpet was torn in some corners. A ceiling panel was hanging from, well, the ceiling, and I saw mold on the walls. Speaking of the walls, they were an insanely ugly shade of green and orange. Whoever designed this would be great meat for Tall Ben. I was told making jokes about it would help ease the trauma with the giant, so don't be surprised. This was an entertainment restaurant, and not a good one. So, you know how Chuck E. Cheese has that mouse smiling on the logo? Instead, Headsman's had a wolf in an executioner's mask. An axe in one hand and a thumbs up with the other. Blood covered the axe, and he was chopping the H in two. This place sucks. Em crossed her arms, then shivered. She put back on her jacket. There's no heating? Found it! Celine shouted, coming up from behind the counter. It is a thick one. She slammed a large binder down, revealing the title. Rules for Not Dying. Please read. Not dying sounded nice. Let's see here. Table of contents. Lots of references to different customers. That'll be good. There's a general rule page. Good. Looking up at her 4 employees, she made sure we were ready. Okay, y'all, listen up. Here's the rules. 1. Close curtains before 8 p.m. Open curtains again at 9 p.m. No exceptions. 2. Do not clean anything. If the characters do not get to eat their scraps, they will eat the customers or us instead. 3. All lights must be turned off at 10 p.m. There is a master switch in the back of the kitchen. Make sure everyone is in a good hiding place, and set a timer for 10 minutes. Shut off the lights and hide. Please make sure that one of you has a way to tell time. You can turn back on the lights at 11 p.m. 4. At 12 a.m., close up shop. Everyone needs to take the elevator to the basement floor. It takes a few minutes. If the elevator doesn't open but starts slowing down, climb out the vent on top as fast as possible. Surviving is up to you after that. The elevator will keep going down, and getting to safety depends on how soon you recognize the issue. 5. If customers didn't make enough of a mess in the main lobby, the machines would be hungry. On the basement floor, you will be safe for an hour or two, depending on how much there is to eat upstairs. This is survival for you. Stay alive until the sun comes up. 6. If you hear, "I'm the headsman," then you are in trouble. Don't make any noise. 7. The plague rat wears a doctor's mask. When it is near, you will feel an overwhelming urge to sneeze. Don't. 8. Hungry piglet will make your stomach grumble, and it will hear. Keep moving and pray you don't run into another machine. 9. There are windows that go nowhere. When they light up, smash one, and you'll be in a closet in the woods. Follow the morning sun to get back to the parking lot. That is it for the day. You are done. Go home and do not stick around. Weird. Celine lifted her head. I wonder how many of these we will have to follow. All of them? I replied, not wanting to get grinded up by some fuzzy machine. That is why they're called rules. Where's the kitchen? John sighed. Y'all can deal with this. I'm sure kitchen has a different set of rules. Did our kitchen have a different set of rules? Wait, do you have a different list than us? Yeah, well, technically both. I would have to make sure Richard and Celine knew that I had no interest in working in the kitchen, seeing as it would just add more chances for me to be killed horribly. Everything went without an issue for the first few hours. An animatronic show played for the sparse customers that came in. Mostly children, ones that did not look normal at all. Black eyes stared back at me from one corner. Whispers to come join them at the playground. Come play with us. Large tunnels intersected and led to slides where more black-eyed kids stared. I politely declined with a shake of my head, but they didn't seem to care. I brought pizza to what I think was a zombified 7, maybe 8-year-old. It growled at me when I handed it its plate. Arcade machines blared. The animatronics sang and spun. Kids screamed nonsense. There really wasn't much work to be done, aside from delivering the worst junk food to any table that dared try it. Surely, even supernatural families would be harmed by the incredibly edible trash I was serving, but no one seemed to care. A lot, and I mean a lot. Scraps got thrown on the floor. We would be safe for most of the night. Things started picking up when 8 p.m. came around. Shortly before it was time to close the curtains to the machine's stage, a familiar face walked through the door. Dr. Fields? I was more than a bit surprised. What are you doing here? Who? He said, his brows meeting. You're Dr. Fields, right? You came to the Drowsy Spectre a few weeks ago. Oh. For a moment, he considered this. I don't seem to remember anything at all. Who are you? Names were dangerous in this type of place, so I was careful. What do you remember, Doctor? Anything about the cafe? What about Bill Goth? Who? This wasn't good. Hey, Barrow? I got his attention. This is Dr. Fields, right? I'm not crazy? What happened to him? He doesn't feel the same. Feel? Barrow shrugged. Yeah, not the same. I thought he couldn't feel. That was my guess, considering his lack of reaction to anything. It seemed Barrow was more complicated than that. He doesn't know any of us. He doesn't even know who he is. Watch. I turned back to Fields. Hey, what is your name? He stared at us. I don't know. Why don't I know? Do you remember anything? Barrow repeated my question from earlier. Dr. Fields, I am like 75% certain it is the same guy, shook his head. I don't know. That must be his favorite answer. Why did you come here then? It just felt like there might be answers here, but this doesn't spark any memories. Well, this isn't the same place right now. If you come back tomorrow, it might be a bit more familiar. Turned into an entertainment center today. Big surprise to all of us. The cafe turned into this? So you do remember the cafe? No, you mentioned it. Oh, right. I checked my watch. Hey, it's 2 minutes till 8. Get the curtains. Em was on it. The machines kept on dancing through the booze as Em closed the heavy curtains, drowning the animatronics in darkness. That entire hour was full of children and adults begging, threatening, and pleading for us to open the curtains and restore the show. I am certain we'd all die if we opened those curtains, or else there wouldn't be a rule. So we remained firm with our nose even when things got a bit violent. Never violent towards us, but a few customers did throw hands with each other. Were we supposed to clean the blood out of the carpet, or leave the messes? Who knows? 9 p.m. rolled around, and we failed to open the curtains. Things were really weird, okay? Everything was new. Old customers came in, so we had to figure out how to please them in the new place. New customers that we didn't know. We got so caught up in everything that we didn't see the clock at 9 p.m. When it did, the machines decided to come out and pay everyone a visit. By visit, I mean they were hungry. Someone screamed. It wasn't even a normal person. It was some sort of pale child with red eyes. The large rat slowly placed the struggling cryptid into its belly. Meat grinders tore the boy to shreds, cutting off the first scream as it consumed an arm and quickly the rest of the body. The rat quickly moved to its next victim. We needed to do something. Em was in charge of the curtains as decided by drawing a lot, and so she was standing close to the stage when everything went down. She tried to get a kid out of the way, but only caused one of the adults to get grabbed. I think it was actually the large fly with the human face. He wasn't fast enough, which was odd for a fly, I guess, and quickly met his end in the maw of the animatronic. It spotted Em and moved far too quickly to grab her. Even as she tried to leap over the counter to safety, I was hurrying to her aid. Barrow and I met her just as the plague rat grabbed her legs. She sneezed. Achoo! Don't let me go, Barrow! Flailing as the machine leaned back with its full weight to pull her away. Please, please, feel something, don't let me die! Barrow didn't say anything, he just pulled. I planted my feet against the counter, so I was standing sideways. The machine was so strong that I worried we would pull Em's arms from their sockets. She began to cry, sob, to scream. I'm sorry, Axel, she whimpered. Please, I'm sorry. Don't let it eat me. She was talking about the pet thing. I would not let her die, certainly not for that. But I wasn't strong enough, and I could feel the machine winning. I could also see a face peeking from the darkness behind the stage. One with yellow eyes, more machines waiting for their turn. What was keeping them? With a roar, I pulled hard on Em's arms and heard the slightest pop, which brought out a yelp from Em. She was going to die or be pulled apart. Neither would get her to safety. The animatronic started to push itself forward while continuing to pull back, bringing the sharp gears in its chest closer and closer. It reached her foot, and there was nothing we could do to stop it. Blood splattered across the floor. Bone was shattering like wood in the stump grinder. She screamed so greatly that I had a new fire in my gut, one that brought more vigor to each pull I made to save her. I couldn't go further, however, not without breaking her. Celine! I shouted, out of ideas. She was being eaten alive. The machine was working up to her ankle, and her eyes fluttered. Celine! Damn it! Celine! Finally, she came out from the kitchen, eyes landing on the massacre. How could she not hear what was going on? She rushed up to grab a hold of Em, but quickly realized the same thing I did. We would split her in two. She moved around the counter, hesitated for only a moment, then stuck out her hand towards the machine. She uttered the same language she had with Laura. Islavir. When the words left her mouth, the machine began to shake. Trembling further, its strength began to fail, and we were able to pull Em and her mangled limb from the mouth of the metal rat. It shook and wobbled as if it were an aging engine, then it fell apart. Screws toppled to the floor, metal plates and cogs clanged as they struck each other. The machine was on the carpet, and its basic components, completely harmless. I was not going to wait for another to exit the curtains, not when I saw Celine topple to the ground. What is a ghost? Barrow laid Em down while I threw open the curtains to the stage. Instantly, the remaining machines began to dance and sing, but there was no audience. The hungry plague rat saw to that. But the rat was on the stage, eyes locked onto me. It danced as it always had, but there was an anger in its eyes, a lust for blood. I turned around and saw all the parts still on the floor. This was not a fight we would win. Not even if Celine could tear them each to pieces. They would come back. Em was in a bad way. Her foot was crushed into nothing, but still attached. It looked more like a large finger than a foot, though. Even if it was nursed back to health, it would be completely useless. She was breathing, though, and Barrow tightened the limb to stop her from bleeding. Celine was on her feet, but very weak. She was breathing, though. I said, "Don't die." Her voice was weak. The counter was the only reason she could stand. Damn it. It is going to be a long night. How is she? Alive. She'll recover, Barrow answered. The foot, I don't know. I had to use the bathroom, nearly having soiled myself during the machine's attack. When I exited the stall, I was met with my reflection. Only it wasn't mine. A man in a suit on the other end. The head wasn't human, though. It was that of a goat, horns half as long as my arms, curving up into the air. He wore a necklace with a familiar pendant, an upside-down triangle with a cross through it. It was Riker's necklace. Hey there, kid. That was Riker's voice, too. His eyes, which were human despite the goat's head, burned like a yellow fire. We never got properly introduced. I'm Annister Riker. Lord Riker to you. Aren't names dangerous to share? He smiled. My name already belongs to another. What do you know of the Pillar King? From the way Celine had reacted, I knew it was nothing good. A customer mentioned him. A woman without eyes? How did he know that? You saw her then? Good. Lord Riker grinned. Very good. Tell me, what did she call you, Axel? He stepped closer towards the mirror. Did she name you Fate Rider? I didn't answer, which seemed to frustrate him slightly. Allow me to let you in on a little secret, Axel. 2 of your friends will die here tonight. You want to know why? That rule list in there isn't up to date. The store's manager took the current one home. Some rules are going to be broken. Some bones crushed by hungry metal gears. That doesn't sound like fun for the staff, right? What do you want? What do we want? You don't want your new friends to die. I don't want this place here at all. I prefer the cafe, you see. Lord Annister Riker stuck out a hand and, much like before, it burned with a golden light. Strike a deal, no tricks. I'll get the store back for you immediately. You'll walk out of the bathroom doors and be back at the cafe. Safe and sound. Well, mostly safe. All you have to do is get me Celine's real name. I wasn't going to do that. I wouldn't betray her. Oh, Axel, come on now. You're smart. Would it really be betrayal to save 2 lives? One might even be hers, right? That was true. Besides, what was to stop me from breaking my end of the deal? Oh, and one other small detail. Decide not to uphold your side of the deal, and you'll be my thrall, much like dear Dan. Well, I guess that wasn't a plan. Maybe we all survived tonight. The lights died. Riker's eyes exploded, and all things but him disappeared entirely. We existed in a void, one that was his entirely, and any that survive will meet my ire. I will skin alive the pixie, and drape it over your shoulders. I will tear Barrow's heart from his chest, and feed it to you myself. Ricky may have the stomach to resist my will, but you do not. If a deal came with a threat, did it really count? Wait, you can't force me to make a deal. That wouldn't be fair. You aren't giving me a choice. Apparently, I wasn't able to call his bluff if there was one. Would you like to find out? If there was ever even a chance Riker was right, then I needed to make the deal. I could figure out how to wiggle from the contract afterwards. But all that mattered in the moment was ensuring that no one died that night. I don't think Riker can lie. I was reading that most supernatural creatures have to be honest with their dealings, even if they twist the truth. He was pretty plain in his wording. 2 of your friends will die here tonight. M was already injured. Celine wasn't in a good place. And we already discovered we didn't stand a chance against the machines. I had one question I could ask Tall Ben. He would have to give me the answer. I would make the deal and ask him how to break it. The mirror was gone. There were no barriers, physical or otherwise, to bar us from shaking hands. I reached out and took Lord Riker's burning palm. He squeezed my hand tight and shook it once. Then the bathroom returned. I was back at the drowsy specter, my hand near our bathroom's mirror. On the other side stood Riker, still goat-headed like before. He had a candle in his hand, the same one that I shook. It was burning. The wax melted quickly down and around his fingers. Nice doing business with you, Axel White. Oh, and one more thing. He held out a little bottle of purple liquid. I need Celine alive. Give her this. With that, he dissolved into me. I realized that my reflection was now my own. Then came the screeching. It was so loud that I fell to the floor, hands covering my ears but failing to bring me any relief at all. I shoved myself out of the bathroom door to see Hartman at the front counter assaulting Barrow with her voice. His eyes rolled into his head, but he kept upright as he stumbled towards the kitchen. When I first started, Barrow said we could just cover our ears and we'd be fine. I thought the sound would kill me. Tom was there, fucking Tom with his camera. He was trying to take pictures of someone behind the counter. I pressed my hands against my ears and pushed towards the bar. Tall Ben was watching from the drive-thru window, but I paid him no mind. Barrow came back from the kitchen, forcing himself towards Hartman. He had a plate in his hand, which meant his ears were open to the assault of sound. As soon as he reached her, however, she shut her mouth and took his offering. Thank you. His eyes returned to normal. Sorry about your wait, Barrow whispered. She turned and left the store, but my ears were still ringing. M stood from behind the counter and leaned against the front register. She was conscious, which was obviously a good thing. When she drew a deep breath, color returned to her face. Damn, she even smiled and laughed a little when she saw both of us. I'm glad that place is gone. Then the sound of a shutter went off, along with a flash of light. M fell to the ground. Barrow and I ran to her side, quickly finding her eyes had gone completely white. Tom giggled as he hurried out of the door, disappearing into the night. I shook M, but there was no response. Desperate, I touched the wound on her foot, hoping she would react. Nothing. Wake up! I shouted, but Barrow gave up. He was just staring at her. Don't do this. Wake up! Don't do this. Don't do her like you did Keith. He sighed. I'm trying. I splashed water on M's face. Where is Celine? I don't know. Beryl lost all drive. I don't know. I can't pretend anymore. Em's gone. She wasn't breathing but still had color. No, she isn't dead. She isn't. There has to be a way. There was. A face still watched from the drive-thru window. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and marched towards the drive-thru. Tall Ben stared at Em's body. She okay? No, she isn't! I shouted at the big face. You owe me an answer. I do. He nodded. You want to ask me a question? I would lose my only chance to get out of a deal that would force me to betray Celine. Either let Em's soul fade away, trapped in Tom's camera, or consign myself to betray Celine one day. I wanted to throw up, as if my stomach could expel the decision from my body. I knew there really wasn't an option, so I asked my question. I had to be careful. The only way to save Em would be to find Tom and force him to give back her soul, or whatever he took from her. Where does Tom go? After his camera? Good idea. Give me 2 days and I will light a fire where he lives. Does that suffice? It does. I closed the window on Tall Ben and returned to Barrow and Em. There was nothing more to do, so I searched for Celine. She was in her office, pale as a ghost, too weak to stand. I brought her the purple bottle. Take this. Where? She was out of breath. Where did you find that? In the bathroom. That wasn't a total lie. Despite her suspicion, Celine drank the potion. Suddenly, her breathing was easier, but she was not fully restored. What happened? How did we get back here? I don't know. I lied. Tom got a picture of Em. I'm going after him. What? Now? She sat up. You can't do that. You'll die in the woods. I have time to figure that out. 2 days. We need to figure out how to improve that necklace. Either way, I'm going after Tom. I want your help. I can't go there. I physically can't. Then I would have to do something else. I am home now. Richard had to close the store without Em, seeing as he needs a pixie, or something like her, to run the store properly. This was all yesterday, which means I go into the woods tomorrow. Celine said she might have a way to extend the protection of the necklace, but she couldn't promise anything. What lesson do I have tonight? Do anything for your friends, because if you're like me, they're all you have.